Hey guys, we need to talk about the Chicago Bears. They have fired their head coach, Matt Eberflus. This is the first time they have ever fired a coach in season. They did so on Friday morning, and it was an absolute shit show as to how it happened. I'll get into some of those details. But first, I want to fill you in on what this channel is. This is my way of getting back into content. It's been a couple years since I co-hosted the Todd Brommelkamp Show with Alex Kuhn on 1600 ESPN. Todd is still holding it down there in eastern Iowa. I am at 670 The Score, and you can hear me sometimes on WBBM News Radio doing sports updates. Loving what I'm doing there. A lot of production work and getting some opportunities on the air, but I miss talking to y'all. So like, subscribe, do whatever you need to do, but there's going to be a lot of Bears content and really whatever the hell else I want to talk about. So let's start with the Bears. Friday morning, they decide to fire Matt Eberflus, the first time they've ever fired a coach in season. They had to do it. The statistics that were piling up, I'm going to show you some here in a second. In fact, here's one right now. Over the last 3 years, Matt Eberflus, the last 3 seasons, they blew 5 leads with a 90% or higher chance of winning. The odds of losing all 6 of those games are 1 in 68 million. And that was before the Detroit game. And the Minnesota game where they had a chance to win at the end and they blew it. So let's go back to Thursday, into the game situation. We know how it played out. Caleb Williams tried to run another play. Matt Eberflus didn't call a timeout. He had a timeout left. The Bears trailed by 3. The clock ran out without the Bears ever even trying a field goal. Just totally inexcusable in one game, much less the statistics that I just showed you about the previous 6 times something like that had happened over the last 3 years. Matt Eberflus was a disaster of a situational head football coach. He was good at one thing and one thing only, calling defensive plays. And really, since Andrew Billings went down a few weeks ago in the Arizona game, the defense has not been very good. So you got to a point where offensively you're starting to improve with Thomas Brown as the offensive coordinator, who should have been the pick all along. More on that in just a second. And there was absolutely no reason not to fire Eberflus, give Thomas Brown a realistic look, a legitimate opportunity to either win this job, get a job somewhere else. At the very least, he's going to be a highly coveted play caller after this season. So they had to make the move. Now, the way that they made the move was just spectacularly Bear. Friday morning, I get into the office as I'm scheduled to be on 670 The Score producing for a show from 10 to 1:30 with Gabe Ramirez. We get rumblings that there may be something that is coming down the pike on Friday. Now, the first clue for this was Friday morning. Matt Eberflus, after every game, speaks via Zoom to the assembled Chicago media at 9 a.m. Now, we kept waiting for the link to be sent. The Bears always send the link for a Zoom, but this time they didn't. Very weird. And you don't believe me? Go back and look at all the beat reporters who were in that Zoom, and they were wondering, where the hell is the link? And I know some of them were reaching out to the Bears PR people who usually will send the link, and they got nothing, no response at all. So at about 9:05, I get a call from my boss, Ryan. He's like, "Oh, he's on. Hurry, go start running, go start recording the press conference." So I get it maybe a couple minutes late, and I'm listening to it. It was figurative, of course, bloodbath. Matt Eberflus got his ass kicked. He got humiliated. One last time. There was a question from Jason Leisure of the Chicago Sun-Times, and it was like, have you been assured that you're going to be the coach on Sunday against San Francisco? And after a pause of at least 5 seconds, he was like, well, I'm just going through the process. It was hard to listen to. It was hard to watch. And that was the last we've heard from Matt Eberflus. 2 hours later, I'm sitting on the board doing a show with Gabe Ramirez when my boss, Mitch Rosen, walks into the room right behind me, and he's like, hey, he's out. Go jump in. So I literally had to a caller, Paulie. If you're listening out there, I apologize. I had to butt in and say, sorry, Paulie. I got to break some news. I got to tell you right now that Matt Eberflus has been fired 2 hours after the organization let him go up on stage and get humiliated. No, it wasn't on stage. Go on a Zoom and get humiliated by the Chicago Bears media. So Eberflus is out and Thomas Brown is in. Now, people always ask, how do the Bears always get this wrong? And to me, the answer is hauntingly simple. Coaching. The Bears hire yes men. The McCaskies, like the owners, like to hire yes men. And look at the fallout of how that occurs. So Matt Eberflus gets hired one day after general manager Ryan Poles was hired. So Matt Eberflus was hired on the 27th of January 2022. Ryan Poles was hired on the 26th. So from people who have talked about it on the air, Olin Kreutz has mentioned this a couple of times. Their belief is that Poles was brought in and he was given a list of 3 head coaches and said, pick one. Does that sound like a way that most other NFL franchises allow their general managers autonomy to pick their person? So there's been a lot of fire on Ryan Poles, a lot of heat on him, I should say, but he didn't get to pick his head coach. And now let's fast forward to Monday when team president Kevin Warren, former commissioner of the Big Ten, and Ryan Poles were giving a press conference about Eberflus's firing, the coaching search. Kevin Warren, there was about a 20-minute press conference with the two of them. Kevin Warren's opening statement went 8 minutes. Ryan Poles' opening statement went 2. So between the two of them, they took about 10 minutes of questions, filibustered half of the time with their opening statements, and Kevin Warren, basically, without saying it, came out and showed, yeah, I'm in charge here. And this is what I'm talking about. The Bears in the past have had people either not in the football realm or outside voices. It was Bill Polian last time, the former general manager of the Colts, who helped them find Matt Eberflus. There was a little bit of wondering, well, Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, they all have the same agent, Trace Armstrong. What the hell is going on here? Well, anyway, we've seen people in the past, not football people, including the McCaskies, most of the time intervene and say, this is who I want to hire. So Kevin Warren coming out as the president of the Bears, a former commissioner of the Big Ten who was brought in to first and foremost help build a stadium for the Bears, and he's kind of failed miserably at that so far. All of his negotiation tactics and saying, we bought some land in Arlington Heights, but we want to get it back into Chicago. We want a stadium in Chicago. And asking for public money, not realizing that the governor of this state, J.B. Pritzker, has aspirations of being a president, like the Democratic presidential candidate in 2028. And the number one most popular thing he could say, bipartisan-wise, to reach out to voters is, no, billionaires, you're going to pay for your own goddamn stadium. But Kevin Warren didn't realize this. He buddies up to the embattled mayor, Brandon Johnson, who also, when he was running, said no public money for billionaire sports owners to build stadiums, and now is changing his mind. And it's gone nowhere. And now they're talking about different plots of land. And every time that you hear a new report on the stadium, you can tell it's Kevin Warren and the Bears, not even subtly, trying to gain leverage where they have no leverage with either the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, or Arlington Heights. And now this guy, who was a former college basketball player, I believe, basketball, may have the final decision in who the Bears hire as their next head coach. All right. The reason I say this is Poles was visibly uncomfortable at that press conference. He was asked about why Shane Waldron didn't work, about why Matt Eberflus didn't work, about why they waited until after Eberflus went through his press conference. The Chicago media was relentless on both of them for the 10 minutes that they spoke. And Kevin Warren was very rah-rah, we're going to get this right. And Ryan Poles was looking down the whole time, looked frustrated, and kind of looked like the second fiddle here. Even though Kevin Warren kept saying, no, Ryan Poles is our GM. He is the point person for this search. Hold on to your butts, folks. This all is happening because Caleb Williams, though not perfect this season, has shown the immense ability, the immense talent to be able to battle through just absolute dysfunction among the coaching staff. And this happened because the McCaskies hired a yes man in Matt Eberflus, and last offseason they had to fire Luke Getsy, their offensive coordinator, because it wasn't working. Eberflus hires a serial yes man in Shane Waldron instead of the more qualified Thomas Brown. They start the season horribly. The team revolts. Finally, they fire Shane Waldron a couple of weeks ago, replace him with Thomas Brown, and voila, the offense starts moving the football. So that is the chain of command of how this all happens. And if Kevin Warren, who is very clearly an extension of the McCaskies, a non-football businessman decision maker, is going to be in charge of hiring the next head coach, you're starting to hear some names. And one of the names that you heard was Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame. That sounds like a Kevin Warren candidate. And then you hear Mike Vrabel. No, I don't want another retread defensive coach, old school guy, handling the franchise and Caleb Williams. Go after Ben Johnson. Get him. And if it doesn't work out, you did everything that you were supposed to do. Every stone was turned in order to find the best offensive candidate, best leader of men, all of the things that you want, you can get. You are a highly coveted situation with a lot of cap space, a number one overall pick at quarterback, a decent roster. You need the idiots up top to, I'm not saying step out of the way, but Ryan Poles, grow a pair. If you have somebody in mind and you say, Ben Johnson is my guy, well, goddamn it, pound on the fucking table and say, this is my guy. To where if they say, no, we like Mike McCarthy, resign. Do what you have to do. But you are being led down the road of being the fall guy here, Ryan Poles, and understand that. So find your guy. Do your own research, I should say. Do whatever you need to do to leave no stone unturned to make sure that the person that you think is the best head coach, the people up top and the McCaskies and Kevin Warren and everybody involved knows this is my opinion. And if you are truly the point person on this, we're going to find out. It was a face-saving move to fire Matt Eberflus, because if they didn't, it would be so clear to everybody that precedent from the McCaskies and the way that the business has been done for well over 100 years is more important than anything that Ryan Poles has to say, in showing that he has effectively zero power in this situation. So this was the guy this past offseason. I did the video a while ago where he was on the Pat McAfee show like, oh, yeah, man, I came in to break a cycle because I was the one in Kansas City who drafted Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to do the same thing in Chicago. And okay, well then go out and hire Ben Johnson or whichever other highly qualified leader of men. I hate when they use that term. Find the most qualified goddamn candidate who can handle your quarterback, can help develop him, and who the players don't fucking hate, and who the players trust that down the stretch of a game is not going to make mistake after mistake after mistake to lose the game. You are a high-level franchise as far as attractiveness to head coaches out there, but the way that you conduct yourself makes people think twice. Stop doing it. Stop ruining great opportunities, because if you ruin this one, who knows when the next opportunity is even going to come. All right, guys, thanks. It was great. We'll talk later.